Discover the miraculous hidden blessing in Issachar, a shocking revelation from Jacob's prophecy. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, son of Josiah, king of Judah, Jacob, known as Israel, summoned his 12 sons beneath the ancient oaks of Mamre, in the land of Canaan. The air thickened with anticipation as the murmurs of the Israelites echoed through the well-trodden paths. Gathered in a circle, the brothers stood, their hearts a mix of eagerness and familial tension. Jacob's eyes, though dimmed by age, sparkled with the weighty knowledge of their destinies. Issachar, the 9th son, stood quietly, a figure often overshadowed by the might and charisma of his elder brothers. His heart swelled with uncertainty. What blessing would my father bestow upon me? He pondered, the memories of labor reflecting in his mind's eye. Tilling soil under the merciless sun, enduring the weight of expectations, he felt like a shadow among the sons of Jacob, yearning for acknowledgement yet remaining unseen. Then Jacob's hands, calloused from years of toil, found their way to Issachar's head. Issachar is a strong donkey, crouching between the sheepfolds, he began, his voice firm yet tender. When he sees that a resting place is good, and the land is pleasant, he bows his shoulder to bear, and submits to forced labor. The words resonated, and the sun cast long shadows over the gathering, imprinting this moment into the fabric of his soul. Murmurs erupted among his brothers. Some exchanged knowing looks, others chuckled lightly, but all seemed to dismiss the crux of Jacob's words, leaving Issachar with a sense of heaviness. Unbeknownst to him, this blessing encased a profound secret. The trials etched on his heart were not merely marks of labor, but badges of discernment. Hidden within Jacob's prophecy was a promise not of menial toil, but of wisdom, the realization that God had destined him for a role beyond common labor. For in the shadows of hardship lay the gifts of understanding the times and seasons, traits that would be crucial to Israel's unfolding story. As time flowed like the winding river, challenges besieged Jacob's household. Famine struck the land, tension simmered among the brothers, and the shadows of uncertainty loomed larger each passing day. In the nights filled with countless stars, Issachar looked across the fields wrestling with doubt. Is this my only path? To toil beneath the sun? He mused. Through his sweat and labor, could there truly be something of greater significance awaiting him? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. At the crossroads of his journey, Issachar felt the pull of his father's words echoing amidst the conflict. Was the blessing of labor a burden or a divine calling? The weight of Jacob's revelation pressed upon him, unraveling the tension between hard work and heavenly purpose. As the stars twinkled above, their light seemed to illuminate a path he had yet to comprehend, a legacy entwined with that of his father's faith. And amid the growing darkness cast by uncertainty, the hidden blessing awaited its time to reveal God's intricate plan, foreshadowing a destiny not yet fully discerned by Issachar or the tribes of Israel. With each passing day, the echoes of Jacob's blessing lingered, carrying the weight of a promise that would soon break forth into divine clarity. In the depths of the famine that seized the land, the sons of Jacob found themselves standing on the precipice of despair. The once fruitful fields lay barren, and the laughter of the past faded into the grim whispers of survival. As they gathered, the brothers, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin, faced a haunting reality. Each day became a struggle, and the shadow of their father's past blessings loomed larger. Jacob, perceiving the strife that gnawed at their spirits, called for his hungry sons. "Why do you look at one another?" he asked, his voice steadied by divine assurance. "Behold, I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy for us, that we may live and not die." The brothers, burdened by their circumstances, cast wary glances at one another, their journey leading them into unknown territories where uncertainty awaited. Issachar, though often quiet and contemplative, felt a stirring within him. The words of his father echoed in his mind. "Issachar is a strong donkey." In that moment, the implication of the blessing unfurled before him as he considered the journey to Egypt. "Am I not called to labor?" he mused, his heart igniting with purpose. "Shall I not carry this weight for my family?" With hearts ignited by desperation, the brothers took their journey to Egypt, guided by hidden providence. The sun bore down upon them as they walked the dusty roads leading to the land of Pharaoh. Upon reaching the city, the sight of granaries filled with provisions astonished them. They entered the market square, fear mingling with hope, for they would soon encounter a ruler who held their fate in his hands. When they stood before Joseph, the delicate balance of recognition and deception pulsed in the air. They did not know him, but he recognized them at once, yet concealed his identity, setting into motion a divine tapestry that would unfold in due time. "Where do you come from?" he asked, his voice sharp as a blade yet veiled with grace. "From the land of Canaan, to buy food," they replied, trembling before the man who, unbeknownst to them, was their brother, sold into slavery years ago, yet now exalted. Joseph, observing their disposition, crafted a test, wanting to discern their hearts, and amidst the tension summoned them for a meal. His brothers held their breaths, for they could not fathom the significance of this gathering. In this mysterious banquet where Joseph feasted with them, Issachar felt an unshakable sense of destiny rising. Despite his past struggles, he sensed God's hand was never far from them. "What must I do?" he whispered to himself, "to fulfill this hidden blessing?" Yet Joseph, revealing nothing, began to lay groundwork for reconciliation, for he knew God's sovereign plan extended beyond their sins. The brothers departed, laden with grain but marked by confusion. Each was gripped with the weight of their choices and the call of God that brought them to this moment of divine interaction. As Issachar walked, carrying the provisions, the words of blessing replayed in his spirit. What had Jacob truly meant when he spoke of a strong donkey? Could barren times be the womb of new understanding? And thus, the seed of a greater story was planted. The promise of restoration whispered in the echoes of need. The hidden blessing would soon reveal its purpose, intertwining their fates in a way none could yet comprehend. The stage was set, and their journey was far from over. God's sovereign plan was about to be unveiled, beckoning them deeper into his redemptive story. As the brothers journeyed back to Canaan, the weight of their burden felt heavier than the grain they carried. Their hearts were burdened not only by physical hunger, but by the unanswered questions that lingered like shadows. Judah, sensing their collective distress, spoke up among them. "What shall we tell our father concerning Benjamin? For he has made it plain to us that we are not to return without our youngest brother." With these words, dread settled upon them, for they could not fathom the heart of Jacob. His love for Benjamin was unparalleled among them, rooted in the sorrow of losing Joseph so many years before. Yet their minds raced, burdened with the foods of Egypt and the uncertainty that surrounded them. As they neared their home, the dusk settled softly around them, blanketing their thoughts in a somber tone. They entered their father's tent, greeted by the familiar warmth of his presence, yet the air was thick with unspoken fears. Jacob, ever watchful, peered into their tired faces. "What is this that you have done?" Jacob asked, his voice trembling with concern. "Why did you declare to the man that you had another brother?" "Dad," Simeon replied, his voice filled with urgency, "the man who rules over the land spoke harshly and accused us of being spies. We had no choice but to reveal the truth about our family, for we feared his wrath. We have brought grain to sustain us, but he insisted that we return with Benjamin. Only then shall we be granted further aid." The air grew still, as though the tent itself held its breath. Jacob's heart sank, for he believed that another loss would be too much to bear. "You want to take him from me as well?" he lamented. "He is the son of my old age. His brother was torn from me. All these things are against me." Yet, amid Jacob's despair, Judah stepped forward, his eyes blazing with determination. "Father, I will be a pledge for Benjamin's safety. If I do not bring him back to you, let me bear the blame forever. We cannot return without him, for the man has spoken plainly. His words are like a stone. He will not relent until we fulfill his command." Moved by Judah's promise, Jacob's heart wrestled with the shadows of fear and the flickering of hope. "If it must be so, then do what you must." He acquiesced at last, a heaviness in his heart. "But take a present for the man, a little balm, a little honey, gum, myrrh, pistachios, and almonds. Present these tokens of goodwill, for we are desperate and wearied by this great famine." The brothers prepared their offerings and gathered more grain than they had initially brought, and soon they were ready to embark on the uncertain trip back to Egypt. Each step echoed with trepidation, yet within them, a subtle stirring of hope began to rise. As they journeyed under the watchful stars, Issachar reflected on the path laid before them. Could there be a divine purpose in these trials? He pondered, feeling an ever-growing conviction. The harsh realities of their lives were but a precursor to deeper revelations yet to unfold. He recalled the blessing their father had given, and his heart trembled at the weight of God's providence upon their story. Upon arriving in Egypt, they found themselves standing not only before the governor, but also at the brink of their own redemption. Joseph awaited, and in his waiting eyes, they saw glimpses of destiny entwined with their own choices, and God's unwavering faithfulness. Thus, the Lord's divine narrative began to deepen, unraveling layers of purpose. The brothers stood on the threshold of not merely survival, but a metamorphosis that would redefine their family. And in that profound moment, they would soon discover the true meaning of their father's prophetic words and the extraordinary blessing buried beneath years of pain and misunderstanding. For what they did not yet realize was that God's sovereign plan was intricately woven through their pain, and soon, it would burst forth like a spring of living water, transforming their very identities and calling them toward a destiny far greater than they could envision. As the brothers approached the grand hall where Joseph awaited, they were met with an air of both majesty and foreboding. The opulent decorations of the Egyptian court shone in the dim light, but their hearts felt heavy with dread. Each step resonated with the echoes of their past, and the memory of their brother's betrayal loomed large in their minds. They knew not what to expect, yet the essence of hope now intertwined with fear amidst their anxious hearts. The brothers bowing before the governor recognized him only as a potentate, growing more tense as they stood before Joseph. His presence was commanding yet veiled behind the intricate layers of authority. "You are come to see if the drought has driven you back to me, have you not?" He spoke with an authority that demanded respect. "Sir," Judah answered, his voice unwavering despite the tremor within. "We are your humble servants, come to purchase food for our household. This is our second trip, and the famine is grievous." Joseph scrutinized them, his heart racing with a blend of emotion, anger mingled with the tender yearning of sorrowful kinship. "You said you had another brother," he inquired, his voice steady and probing. "Where is he? If you are true men, bring him to me." The brothers shifted uneasily, whisperings unfurling like dead leaves before the autumn wind. They exchanged anxious glances, knowing the weight of this request. "He is at home with our father, who fears greatly for his safety," Reuben replied. "He is our father's only remaining son of his beloved wife." At this, Joseph felt a deep pang of compassion. The echoes of his own lonely years in the pit resounded within him. The longing for family, for connection, stirred his very essence. Yet, he recalled the betrayal that led to their estrangement. It emboldened him to probe deeper. "If you claim to be sons of integrity, then you must prove it. I will test you. Send one of you to fetch your brother, but the rest of you shall remain in captivity. This will ensure your honesty." As the brothers exchanged looks of hopeless despair, they found the shadows of their past catching up to them. "Truly, we are being punished for the evil we did to our brother," Simeon lamented, grief spilling over in regret. "We saw his anguish, yet we did nothing. How has God exposed us now?" Joseph turned away, unable to conceal the surge of emotion that clouded his vision. Unbeknownst to them, God's hand was stirring behind the scenes, orchestrating the unraveling of their family, weaving together pain and redemption. Through tears of frustration, he whispered a fervent plea to God. "When will they realize your mercy and grace?" After deliberation, They agreed to the terms set forth by the mighty governor. They could feel the weight of their father's apprehension lingering over them like a dark cloud, yet their courage dimmed any thoughts of revolt. "We must go, for our very lives depend upon it," Judah spoke, fortifying their resolve, unaware of how this journey would affect each one of their fates. Thus, filled both with dread and despair, they took their leave. But Joseph, observing the path laid before them, was caught between love and vengeance, yearning for a reunion that would require unbearable trials yet ahead. In the stillness of the night, as they journeyed back homeward, the brothers could not see the shimmering light of hope woven through their tribulations. Little did they grasp that in their brokenness lay the keys to healing. For God's sovereign plan was not merely one of discipline, but of glorious restoration destined to unfold. And soon they would be faced with the right questions and the undying grace of mercy that awaited them. The stage was set. Who could fathom the depths of God's unfolding story? What they hadn't anticipated was that God was even then preparing a heart for forgiveness, breaking chains forged by bitterness, and opening arms for reconciliation. For soon, the fullness of Jacob's prophecy would not just echo through generations, but would tremble through the halls of earthly time, manifesting divine promises in ways the world could not yet understand. As the brothers returned to their homeland, the weight of duty pressed heavily upon them. The journey back was filled with hushed conversations, each voice barely above a whisper, burdened with worry for their brother left behind, and the agonizing uncertainty that loomed over their family. "Brothers," Judah spoke into the growing silence, "we must relay this grim news to our father. He carries the weight of sorrow for Joseph, and now we must tell him we must bring Benjamin to the governor. His love for Rachel's sons is greater than all else." Silence fell upon them, echoing the struggles they had previously faced. The brothers remembered the words spoken in their father's tent, the tender memories of Jacob's blessing over Joseph and Benjamin, whose very names were like a balm upon weary hearts. Each brother harbored regrets, recalling vividly how the choice of one sibling's fate had led to profound pain. Meanwhile, in the halls of Egypt, Joseph wrestled with conflicting emotions. The sight of his brothers had stirred dormant feelings. Love, mingled with hurt, played like a haunting melody in his heart. As he gazed upon the land he ruled, memories of betrayal surged back, causing his chest to tighten. Divinely orchestrated events were lined against the backdrop of his heart's turmoil, weaving in and out of the fabric of destiny. "Lord," he murmured, lifting his eyes toward heaven, "you have brought me to this place for a purpose. Show me the way through this conflict. Show me the path to reconciliation." His prayers were laced with expectancy. He discerned the movement of God in every sorrow and triumph he had endured, and he was beginning to understand the deeper calling upon his life. When the brothers approached their father Jacob with the news, a deep sorrow settled over their family like a dark cloud. "Is it not enough that I lost Joseph?" Jacob cried, grief etched into every word. "You would take Benjamin too?" The brothers witnessed the anguish of their father, and felt their hearts break anew for the pain they had caused years prior. "Father, we cannot starve," Reuben pleaded, his hands trembling. "We must return to Egypt. We shall not rest until we have procured grain, and Benjamin must accompany us, for the mighty governor demands it." Jacob's heart was heavy, yet within it stirred a whisper of hope. "May the God of Abraham and Isaac keep my sons safe," he finally resolved, yielding against the weight of necessity, though the anguish in his heart remained. As the brothers made preparations for their return, unknown to them, the providential hand of God was at work, orchestrating a reunion that would echo through ages. With each step they took, the journey was more than a passage through land. It was the unraveling of a narrative threaded into the grandeur of God's plan. "Behold," Joseph mused to himself as he prepared for their return, "here lies the moment when brotherhood may restore what was lost. Yet my heart quakes. How shall I reveal myself without breaking them further?" In these unfolding events, the heartache of years would collide with the promise of redemption, igniting the embers of forgiveness yet unspoken. Soon, they would face the divine truth, a truth that would shatter chains of animosity forged in years past, replacing them with the ties of brotherhood destined to renew hope and love. For as the scribes would someday record, when God seeks to heal wounds long buried, he often reveals a blessing hidden, even in the darkest of places. The stage was set for revelation, and as the days passed, would they find the miraculous hidden blessing entwined in Jacob's prophecy through Issachar? The answer lay ahead, in the unfolding chapters of divine grace. As the sun rose on the horizon, its rays broke through the mist that hung over Canaan, casting a golden hue across the land. The house of Jacob stirred with the anxious energy of the impending journey. The brothers gathered, their hearts heavy with turmoil, but resolute in their purpose. Jacob, seeing their determination, issued his blessing, though his voice trembled with foreboding. "May the Almighty grant you mercy before the man," Jacob implored, "and may he bring back your brother and Benjamin. If I am bereaved, I am bereaved." With that, the sons took their leave, carrying the weight of their father's sorrow upon their shoulders as they set forth toward Egypt. Upon their arrival at the gates of the city, the dusty roads underfoot seemed a testament to their long journey and the burdens of their hearts. The brothers were led into Joseph's house, where he awaited them in a chamber resplendent with the fineries of Egypt. Joseph's heart raced, recognizing them amidst their confusion, but he masked his emotions with an imperious demeanor. "Why have you returned?" Joseph questioned, his words deliberate, designed to stir their fear. "Is it that you seek to bring your brother to his doom?" Judah stepped forward, courage mingling with fear. "Not so, my lord. We come seeking food, for the famine has struck deeply. Here stands our brother Benjamin, whom our father loves dearly. We now ask you to show mercy." At the mention of Benjamin, Joseph's heart ached afresh with the echoes of his childhood. He struggled against his emotions, but as he turned away, tears betrayed him. How long had he waited for this moment when his blood would be revealed before him, a potential balm for all his suffering? He called for Benjamin to approach him. "Is this indeed your younger brother?" Joseph inquired, his voice low and weighted with unspoken love. Benjamin looked up, surprised and frightened, sensing an unseen bond with the man who stood before him. Joseph raised his hand to still the stirrings of tension. "Take food for your journey. I shall provide for you. But know this, I will test your hearts." He arranged for a feast to be prepared in their honor, a meal intended not merely to fill their stomachs, but to provoke a reckoning of souls. That evening, as they gathered around the table laden with provisions, Joseph watched intently. From the corner of his eye, he observed their interactions, their unguarded moments steeped in brotherhood and shared history. Memories flooded his mind, filled with both the sweetness of his youth and the searing pain of betrayal. In a sudden act of divine orchestration, Joseph commanded that each brother's portion be set before them, but a silver cup was secretly placed in Benjamin's sack. The feast concluded amidst laughter and stories, and yet it was tinged with an undercurrent of impending revelation. The dawn broke and Joseph's men pursued the brothers, accusations of theft echoing in the air. Fear gripped their hearts as they found the cup hidden within Benjamin's belongings. "What shall we do?" they lamented as they returned to Joseph's house, their spirits heavy with dread. As they stood before Joseph once more, trembling in despair, Joseph raised his hand and proclaimed, "What can I do with this treachery? Shall I keep the guilty, or will there be a chance for resolution?" In that moment, Judah took courage, stepping forward with heartfelt words of intercession. "My lord, let me take the place of the boy. Let your servant bear the burden of this matter, for my father's heart is frail. His sorrow could not withstand another loss." And Joseph, with veiled eyes that shimmered with the weight of years, stood silent. A divine plan was unfolding, a tapestry woven with threads of redemption, as a heart could be restored in ways yet unnamed. And thus in the midst of tension, a profound revelation awaited. The hidden blessing of Issachar lay not merely in prophecy, but in the depths of reconciliation, poised to be unveiled in ways beyond their understanding. A divine truth blossomed in the vineyard of their lives, echoing the eternal purpose of God. Hidden even in their darkest moments were reminders that God weaves all for a greater good. What path might the Almighty carve through hearts tenderized by grace? The brothers stood on the threshold of redemption, and as the air grew thick with divine strategy, the answer hung in the balance, awaiting their response. As the silence lingered in the chamber, Joseph's heart waged a fierce battle between love and the memories of betrayal. He gazed upon his brothers, their faces pale and drawn, yet painted with threads of hope that seemed fragile as gossamer. Would this moment yield the reconciliation he so ardently desired, or would it further deepen the chasm of their past? Judah. Joseph's voice broke through the stillness, resonating with authority tempered by affection. You have offered yourself in the place of your brother. Could it be that the Lord has orchestrated this moment to reveal the true heart of Israel's sons? With each word, a weight lifted from Joseph's shoulders, for he realized the workings of divine providence were at hand. This was no ordinary encounter. It was a climax of grace woven upon the fabric of history. The brothers stood uncertain, knowing only the fear of guilt, yet unaware of the unfolding mercy that lay in the shadows. Come close, Joseph beckoned, allowing his heart to unseal from its prison. The brothers hesitated, glancing at one another with questioning eyes. They recognized the man who had once been shrouded in their enmity, a ruler who now bore the mantle of both pain and promise. As they drew near, Joseph disclosed his true identity in a hushed breath that shivered with emotion. I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. The stark revelation hung in the air like a divine raindrop poised to nourish dry ground. Gasps escaped their lips as dread painted their features. Yet, in those very breaths, Joseph found solace and clarity. Do not be grieved, nor angry with yourselves for selling me, for God sent me before you to preserve life. His words bore the weight of unimaginable grace, each syllable ringing with the eternal truth of God's faithfulness amid human frailty. The brothers fell into a heap of humility and regret, the weight of their past actions heavy upon their souls. But God's plan was greater than their misdeeds. His purpose was unfolding like the petals of a blossoming flower. Joseph reached out, lifting them from despair into the hopeful light of redemption. God has made me a father to Pharaoh and lord of all his house, he declared, and I shall provide for you and your little ones. Their tear-streaked faces reflected a newfound understanding, for the sovereign hand of God maneuvered their paths. In this grace-filled moment, the promise of reconciliation blossomed anew, echoing the divine intentions spoken long before by their father Jacob. Joseph instructed them to return to Canaan, gathering their father and all their households. Bring your families and dwell in the land of Goshen, he commanded, for there I will sustain you during the years of famine, for 5 more years are yet to come. The brothers, emboldened by the grace that flowed from Joseph's words, made haste, their hearts filled with a mix of awe and relief. As they began their journey back, laden with the gifts of Egypt, Joseph stood gazing after them, aware that a greater mystery lingered. The threads of his life woven into a larger tapestry, the bond of family restored, yet another chapter awaited to be revealed. In a quiet moment of reverence, Joseph prayed, O Lord, may this be the beginning of healing, and may the promises I harbor be brought to fulfillment. For who can fathom the depth of your plans? And as he spoke, the heavens stirred, and the promise remained. Could it be that even greater blessings were yet to unfold within the lineage of Jacob, as the remnant of Israel prepared to embrace a future interlaced with the divine providence of God? In the hidden blessings of Issachar awaited a shocking revelation yet to be unveiled. The mystery of restoration was only beginning. As the brothers journeyed toward Canaan, their hearts were a collage of emotion, woven together by relief, fear, and astonishment. The sun set low in the sky, its golden rays casting long shadows on the path before them. They recounted Joseph's words, which rang familiar yet foreign upon their tongues, invoking a light long buried beneath shame. Can it truly be that God has led us to restore our family? Reuben's voice trembled with disbelief. Did he not forsake us for what we have done? Judah, wearied by guilt yet emboldened by the weight of this revelation, replied, It is God who has shown Joseph mercy, that we might receive it. We must cling to this grace as we return to our father. As they pressed forward, the landscape of Canaan rose before them, a land rich with promise. Yet within their hearts, the dread of their father's reaction gripped them. They could almost hear the echoes of their youth, the stark command of Jacob, sowing seeds of fear amidst the blossoms of hope. Upon arriving in the tents of their father, they rushed forth to find Jacob, who was aged and weary, his face lined with the sorrows of the years. "Father," they cried in unison, "Joseph lives. He is ruler over all Egypt." Jacob's heart stopped momentarily, disbelief casting a shadow across his brow. Is this indeed true? Can it be that my son, thought lost, has returned in this manner? "Yes," they implored, recounting the tale of their journey, Joseph's words of kindness, and the promise of sustenance in the land of Goshen. With every syllable, Jacob's spirit began to ignite, awakening hope that had long lay dormant. "Joseph, my son lives?" His voice tremored as if wrestling with the divine. "This news is too wonderful, too profound for my weary heart." And there in the soft encampment of the twilight, Jacob's heart rejoiced, intertwined with gratitude and amazement. He turned toward heaven, humbled before the Almighty. "O God of my ancestors, you have turned mourning into joy. What a marvel of your favor." As the family gathered, embracing with tears and laughter, a sudden silence fell over them. Joseph stood apart, watching the wonder of reconciliation unfold. His heart echoed the song of redemption. God's handiwork was not yet finished. "Father, remember," Joseph began, "when you spoke of the lineage of Israel and the blessings set forth for each of your sons. There lies beneath the surface of this salvation a promise foretold by our forefather Isaac." His voice began to rise with conviction. "In this very act of restoration, the sovereignty of God is at work." The brothers leaned in, captivated by his fervor. "Just as God appointed me to deliver you, he has set forth a plan intertwined with the lineages of our family. And among us, Issachar shall bear the weight of a revelation." Jacob's brow arched, intrigue mingling with his restored joy. What is to be revealed concerning Issachar? Joseph stepped closer, knowing that with each word he was threading the future of Israel. "For Issachar shall be a strong bone, his blessings, a foundation upon which the tribes shall rise. He will bring forth understanding of the times, knowing what Israel ought to do." Indeed, the hand of God had woven through the hearts of Joseph and his brothers a greater tapestry of redemption and purpose. As the night deepened, the stars above began to twinkle like promises yet to be fulfilled, each shining with the potential of the unfolding mystery. "Come," Joseph invited, "let us return to Egypt, for the famine is strong, and we must prepare for the days ahead. We are blessed to be part of God's sovereign story. What lies ahead of us is but the beginning, for the fullness of his plan shall yet be unveiled." In the quiet moments that followed, the air brimmed with expectation, and the family, stitched back together by grace, moved toward the dawn with a renewed spirit. Before them lay trials, but also triumphs, a journey revealing how God would weave Issachar's hidden blessings into the very fabric of their destiny, igniting a legacy far beyond what they could fathom. As they set forth, the shadows deepened, and the whisper of the Almighty echoed, revealing that the story was still being written. Thus, the mystery of restoration was only beginning. In the days that followed their reunion, the family of Jacob prepared for their journey back to Egypt, hearts filled with a mix of joy and anxious anticipation. The evening air was thick with the scent of the earth, fresh with promise, and as they gathered supplies, spoken words of faith echoed through the camp. Jacob, revisiting his memories, gathered his sons around him under the star-studded sky. "Come closer," he beckoned, his voice low with a reverence born of the moment. "It is time for the blessings of your father to be spoken, for these words shall carry the weight of our heritage." As he surveyed the faces of each of his sons, joy mingled with sorrow reflected in his eyes, the tales of their past woven into the fabric of his heart. "Reuben, you are my firstborn, the strength of my days. Unstable as water, you shall not excel, for you went up to your father's bed and defiled it." The weight of his blessing fell heavy, a reminder of past transgressions, yet grounded in fatherly love. Then Jacob turned to Simeon and Levi, his heart burdened yet mindful of their righteous indignation. "Simeon and Levi are brothers. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. O my soul, come not into their secret, for in their anger they slew a man. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel." The sons listened closely, their own spirits stirred by the truth bluntly spoken by the patriarch. Next, Jacob turned to Judah, his voice rising with prophecy and expectation. Judah, you are he whom your brethren shall praise. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's children shall bow down before you. A flicker of excitement passed through Judah's heart, for he felt the mantle of nobility resting upon him. As each blessing was proclaimed, the camp of Jacob buzzed with a supernatural energy that tickled the air. It held the promise of God's design, an echo of the unfolding mystery yet to be realized. The moment stretched into eternity as Benjamin stood before his father. You are a ravenous wolf. In the morning you shall devour the prey, and at night you shall divide the spoil. Jacob paused, his lips forming a quiet smile as he contemplated the future of each son. Then, eyes glinting with wisdom, he turned his gaze to Issachar. The atmosphere shifted, as if the world held its breath in anticipation of the blessing set to unfold. Issachar is a strong donkey, lying down between two burdens, Jacob declared, his voice deepened by the weight of the prophecy. He saw that rest was good, and the land was pleasant. He bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute. The words hung in the air, rich with promise, a foreshadowing of what endurance and labor would yield for the tribes to come. As the echo of Jacob's voice faded, Joseph felt a stirring within his spirit. Truly, Father, Issachar's insight shall bless Israel in our time of tribulation, for as the times unfold, we shall need strength and understanding. The encampment fell silent, hearts pondering the gravity of Jacob's words. Would Issachar indeed lead in wisdom, guiding his brothers through the storms of the future? The shadow of divine providence enveloped them, a hush settling on the camp as thoughts of destiny swirled like leaves cast adrift in the autumn winds. With that, Jacob lifted his hands toward heaven, a vivid gesture of blessing. The Lord of hosts shall be your guide, and the keeper of Israel shall gather you. His voice trembled with fervor. From Issachar shall come the understanding of the times, revealing the direction for our people. As the stars twinkled above, the weight of prophecy pressed upon the hearts of Jacob and his sons. They moved forward into the encroaching night, the flames of hope ignited in their spirits. Little did they know, God's sovereign plan was weaving through the intricate details of their lives, a tapestry leading them toward the unknown, where deliverance awaited. As the family steered towards Egypt, an unseen path unfurled before them, the very fabric of their existence intertwining with the divine mandate. And thus, the journey continued, echoing the eternal truth that the hearts of man remain within the hands of a sovereign God, whose divine mysteries are yet to be revealed. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow upon the land of Canaan, the family of Jacob gathered once more, this time under the watchful eye of Almighty God. The trials they faced in Egypt had honed them like fine steel, preparing their hearts for a final convergence, a divine culmination of Jacob's prophecy. In the days following his reunion with Joseph, Jacob felt the flutter of hope returning to his heart, though tempered by the shadows of the past. Gather the family, he instructed, his voice steady, for the time had come to grant a final blessing, an impartation that would carry the weight of their history into an unfolding future. As the evening cool settled around them, Jacob ushered his sons and their families into the center, his heart aflame with memories of their struggles and triumphs. He began with Reuben, the eldest, yet every word he spoke held a richness meant for the lineage to come. You will be a sign of my strength, he uttered, his brow furrowed in solemnity. Yet your heart has wandered. One by one he spoke, each blessing weaving through the fabric of their identities. To Judah he proclaimed, the scepter shall not depart from you, laying a foundation upon which kings would rise, intertwining destiny with promises of royal lineage. Then, turning to Issachar, the quiet but resolute son whose spirit had yearned for recognition, Jacob stood tall. Issachar is a strong donkey, lying down between two burdens, he declared, an inscription of profound weight. He sees the land is good, and bows his shoulder to bear. In this moment, clarity washed over the gathered tribe as they began to grasp the enormity of the blessing. Issachar's strength was not merely physical, it represented discernment, strength in toil, and the divine gift of understanding the times. The weary family realized his labors would yield guidance, helping to set their path amidst uncertainties. This revelation ignited a flicker of excitement among his brothers, who understood their responsibilities would be buoyed by Issachar's insight. The air thickened with divine anticipation as Jacob continued. From this day forth, may Issachar be the beacon of wisdom. Let his strength carry my sons through tribulation and trials, for he shall counsel our people in times of need. Joseph stood beside Issachar, witnessing the stirring of a new legacy unfold, a legacy that would capture the essence of God's providence through trials. The spirit of forgiveness and unity blended deeply, prompting Joseph to speak. In the face of famine and sorrow, Issachar's strength shall lead us to find rest and guidance. We will not groan under burdens, but shall become a light of understanding among the tribes. With each assertion, the atmosphere shimmered, and a new commitment ensued among the family. Unbeknown to them, they were not merely receiving blessings, they were entwining their hearts with the divine tapestry that unfolded from their struggles and confessions. In this pivotal moment, Jacob's heart swelled with gratitude as he prayed aloud, invoking the presence of God. Let your spirit guide my sons as they journey forth, united in faith, led by your wisdom and strength. Pour out upon Issachar the discernment necessary to lead our people through perilous times. As twilight enveloped the gathering, a palpable peace descended, wrapping each heart in love and hope rooted deeply in the unfolding plan of God. The hidden blessing of Issachar, unveiled within Jacob's words, solidified a promise of strength, wisdom, and divine intimacy. Each family member comprehended that they were part of something far greater than their individual lives, united under the tapestry of redemption. And so, with their hearts aligned and their spirits uplifted, the sons of Jacob prepared for their journey back to Egypt, not merely as men seeking sustenance, but as a family reborn in faith. The hurdles ahead would be relentless, yet they knew the strength of Issachar's blessings would not be forgotten. As they departed, Issachar felt anew the weight and honor of his father's words. His heart pulsed with understanding. This was not just a prophecy of toil, but a divine mandate to lead. Each step they took echoed a promise. God, in his unending grace, would guide them through the wilderness and toward restoration. In unison, the brothers recited the vow of their lineage, a commitment to support one another and become a true reflection of the mercy and strength imparted by Jacob. They marched forth into the night, ignited by the light of a legacy that mirrored God's redemptive plan. In the harmonic convergence of their hearts, the message of Issachar transcended generations. Not merely a secret blessing of past hardships, but a proclamation of hope for the future, foretelling an Israel united under wisdom and strength, fulfilling their divine purpose. As dawn painted the sky with hues of promise, they pressed on, confident that God's story was far from over. The next pages would reveal not just trials, but triumphs, delivering miraculous beginnings from their enduring obedience to his guidance. In light of this grand narrative, the family of Jacob embarked upon a journey richer than provisions. They carried the legacy, strength, and wisdom entrusted to them, driven by the knowledge that from their trials would rise a legacy that reflected the heart of God. Subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next powerful biblical stories that illuminate our faith. Leave a like now to help spread God's word through the algorithm, ensuring that his truth impacts lives everywhere. Comment below with your spiritual reflections. How has this story touched your faith journey? This is the moment to help share biblical wisdom. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. Together, let us carry forth the light of the gospel into the world.